Hi, I'm Winter, and I am here for Bipolar Bazaar. Today is June 12th, 2022, and this is my experience of being bipolar, being human, and having bipolar disorder. So, my comorbidities are ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is the inability to calculate. Depression, anxiety, chronic daily migraines, which are now under control somewhat. I also have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I started getting stomach aches when I was about 7 years old, and it's continued and progressed until adulthood. And headaches started when I was about 12 years old, and continued to progress. They were migraines until 2002, even though I had been self-medicating for the migraines, didn't know that they were migraines. I thought they were bad headaches. So I would take Sudafed, Excedrin, anything to stop the pain of the migraine, didn't know what it was. I thought they were allergies or something like that. So anyway, for the last week, it's been quite interesting. People have been calling me and texting me. When I talk to friends, they've been telling me that these are the responses that I've been getting. So, mostly they say, thank you. I have a relative or family member that's bipolar, and their lives are really, really hard. It started at a young age, and they've been really, really miserable. They won't take their meds, they won't take any medicine, or they'll say, thank you, so many people have bipolar disorder and they need help, and they won't go to the doctor, they just won't go. Or they'll say, I know someone who is bipolar, and they are so out of control, and I've told them several times that they need to go to the doctor, and they are in total denial that they have any problem at all. So they also have said, I'm so glad you're speaking up about bipolar. It's so misunderstood. No one talks about it or even knows what it is. And we know that bipolar is rampant, but nobody wants to talk about the stigma. But the stigma is that it's mental illness. So nobody wants to talk about mental illness. And that's the problem. And it's so difficult to diagnose because there's so many comorbidities or so many other things that it could be, other mental illnesses that go along with it. So there's all kinds of phobias and all kinds of mental illnesses that people don't recognize as mental illnesses, that nobody wants to go to the doctor about anything. So people self-medicate, and the way people self-medicate is what I have done over a period of years is I used to at times take Benadryl to calm me down. I would take like a half of Benadryl, and then I would drink a little bit of wine or champagne, and it would just take the edge off, so I wasn't so anxious. I wasn't so wired. But I didn't know that I was self-medicating. I just knew that I was just like this, and constantly ruminating and thinking about things, and just having to do something or trying to figure out my life, because I wasn't diagnosed with bipolar disorder until I was 55 years old. This is after I had been married a couple of times, divorced a couple of times, and I had my daughter when I was 29, almost 30 years old. And so all of that time, I was not functioning normally. I was just not functioning, and it was a struggle every day to live. It was a struggle every day to try to understand what I was doing. It was a struggle every day to figure out how I was going to make it, not knowing that I was bipolar, but I knew something was wrong. I knew something wasn't right. And I was always searching for and asking the doctors, I know something is not right. There's something wrong. And so this is something that, another thing that people would say, or people are responding, they would say, I'm praying for you, hang in there. Just know that God is in control. Life is beautiful. There's so much beauty in this world. And, or I've received the most beautiful cards and from my friends, and unexpected conversations about bipolar, and reaching out in a lot of ways that you can't imagine, that have just been so helpful. With my friends just saying, what do you need? Let me help you do whatever it is that you need to do. Come on, let's just do it. And it's so difficult for me to receive help because I've been all my life, I've been in my mind saying that I can take care of myself, but in reality, bipolar disorder, there's no cure for it. There's no cure. They don't know what it is. So me struggling to take care of myself by myself is almost impossible. So when someone wants to help me, my natural reaction is, no, I'm okay, I can do it. But actually, I need a lot of help. So when my friends have been reaching out to me, I've been actually accepting the help. And it can be really something very, very simple. But saying yes to the help has been mind-opening for me. So this outpouring of kindness has been absolutely amazing. There's been a lot of silence as well. A lot of people are listening because I think that they are recognizing that this bipolar, and looking at the symptoms and maybe Googling the symptoms themselves and seeing it in a family member or a friend, a relative or wherever, they can kind of understand what's going on now, rather than judging them and just saying, oh, that's just them, or they're, that's the way they are, or just brushing them off. And now they know that they're actually sick, and that they have a problem, and that they need help, and maybe they can get them to a doctor. So it was a lot for me to take in when I started doing this, and it's really difficult to do this. This isn't easy. It's hard. It's challenging. So talking about it to you all and sharing all of this, I'm doing it hopefully so that you can become good listeners of the people around you. Just listen and don't respond. There are a lot of things that people with bipolar will say to you, and you might just blow it off because you know that their reactions and responses change, and they're unpredictable from moment to moment. But you really have to listen to what they're saying and hear them, because sometimes they're asking for help in a way that you never thought that they would ask for help. And so if your listening changes for them, this could really open up the doors for a lot of empathy and compassion for mental illness in general. So it's all in our perceptions, and we talked about that the last time. That let's look at it this way. If you have a broken back and everyone around you knows that you have a broken back, you would be screaming in pain if your back was broken. You would be taken to a hospital, you'd be put on the right medication, you would be made comfortable until your pain was manageable. And your doctors would get together and give you a plan of action. You might have to have surgery, there would be consultations, maybe you won't have surgery, maybe you have to be in a body cast, but until you recover, went to rehab, and everything was worked out, no matter how long it takes, you will be taken care of because you have physical symptoms that the doctors can see, they can measure and analyze, and people would surround you with understanding and with respect. However, it's different with the mental illness. People can't see your mind. They can't see that your mind is broken. They can't see that you're screaming in pain, even though you're in a rage screaming incoherently, or you're screaming about something that seems to have nothing to do with anything that you're doing in the moment, but someone is just going off because they're standing in line and it's taking too long, and they just go into a rage. Something happened in, maybe not in that moment, but maybe before they got in line, triggered them. And when they got in line and had to stand in line, they were thinking about it, they were ruminating about it, and became very, very impatient in line, and just went off, and just went up to the window and just started yelling at the person in the window, and went totally off on this person. And that's what a trigger is for someone who is bipolar. A normal person would just stand there, wait in line, get a little magazine to read, kind of look around and say, I wonder what's taking so long. But for a person that's bipolar, and if they've been triggered about something, maybe they had an argument with someone before they left the house, or maybe before they left the house, someone said something to them about the way they were being, or whatever. When they got in that line and had to wait, they're thinking about that conversation, and that's a trigger for them. So that trigger doesn't come out of just nowhere. It comes out of something that happened, some kind of trauma, some kind of whatever it was that made them act that way. So triggers just don't come out of nowhere, or rages just don't come out of nowhere. They come from somewhere. So you can't see that they're mentally ill. You can't see that someone is mentally ill because they don't have a Band-Aid or a bandage wrapped around their head that's dripping with blood, that they're bleeding. So as long as they don't have a bandage around their head, you think they're okay. The thing is that a person who puts their fist through a door, a closed door, because they're angry, and they punch the door so hard that they almost break their hand and break through the door with anger and rage, that's a problem. That's a problem. Their mind is broken. Someone who is emotionally unable to speak, they just won't talk. They just won't talk. You could be asking them questions, they won't respond. They just sit there with their arms crossed and they won't talk. Nothing. That's a response. Silence is a response. And that's a problem. And along with that silence, you have to look at other factors that that person is exhibiting besides the silence. Other things that they're doing. Their eating habits, their sleeping habits. They may not be sleeping at all. Or they may be sleeping all the time and then getting up and not talking at all. And so all of these things combined, people begin to say, oh, well, she's just got issues. Well, you know, she's got issues. She's always had issues. We all have issues, but some issues are extenuating issues and circumstances, and they need to be addressed. The problem with mental health is that nobody wants to be stigmatized. Nobody wants anybody to know that they have a problem. So they hide it. People will hide their mental illness the whole time they're engaged to someone, and as soon as they get married, the next day, almost the minute they say I do, they flip and they start exhibiting their mental illness because they knew that they had to pretend that they were somebody they were not in order to get married, because they knew that they needed someone to love them and help them and take care of them. And this is true. So, well, maybe it's not true. Maybe it's just my perception. But I've heard it very, very many times from other people and other sources. So, you know, things change very, very quickly in relationships, regardless of whether there's a mental illness or not. So you have to look at your perception of what it is that the person is doing, how you're perceiving them, and actually what they are saying to you, and how you respond to them, because it's all in your reaction of what they're doing that helps them. If you know that a person has issues and they're constantly doing the same thing repetitive, you tell them, I told you, please do not put your clothes in the floor in that pile so that I have to walk all over them every day. Please stop putting your clothes in the middle of the floor. And they continually do it for years. And you say the same thing every day for years. And they still put the clothes there. They just ignore you. And then one day, you get angry and you just scream, I told you to stop putting your clothes in the middle of the floor. You act like you just don't hear me. When are you going to understand that, and you just go off about the clothes in the middle of the floor. Well, the person that you're talking to is used to you not responding to them leaving their clothes in the middle of the floor. So, of course, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to look at you like, well, I didn't know it bothered you. You never said anything. And you're going to look at them like they've lost their mind, because you're going to say, I've been telling you for 5 years not to leave your clothes on the floor, and you didn't hear me? So this is why you have to pay attention and have a conversation from the very beginning, because that's where the conflict begins. And then when you look at the other habits that each of you have about the things that you're doing, there needs to be a conversation about the whole thing. where the conflict is, what you're stuffing down and what the other person is stuffing down. And then when somebody finally explodes, and what the reaction is. The reactions can be very dangerous. And that's what you have to be careful of. Because once a person explodes, somebody can get hurt. Somebody will get hurt. The jails are full of people, full of crimes of passion. From people exploding. From things that are unexpressed. From no self-expression. From not being able to talk. From being shut down by their partner. Shut down in their childhood. Shut down for whatever. And then they explode. So you have to be careful in how you listen to someone, how you react to someone, and it's all in your response and having conversations. And also, the person who's having this problem of not being able to speak up, you have to open up to someone and let them know that you can't speak up and that you need help and that you have a problem speaking up, and let them coach you and talk to you and find out why it is that you can't speak up. Did you have parents that were controlling, that told you not to talk, that were stern, that were firm, that were harsh, that were mean, that said, no children can talk in the family, that's old, that's for that's grown-ups talk, and you be quiet or whatever, and you were never able to talk. There's all kinds of reasons why people don't speak up for themselves. It's fear. And if they don't speak up in one area of their lives, they don't speak up in a lot of areas of their lives for themselves. And if they were abused emotionally, physically, sexually, that's trauma. So they're not going to speak up in a lot of areas. So, you have to understand that these people are suffering. And if someone is suffering, they need help. They don't need to be screamed at. They're suffering. They need some compassion, and they need to be asked, what can I help you with? I see that you're suffering. Stop screaming. Calm down. Why are you screaming? Can I help you? Because I talked to somebody who told me that they explained a lot of situations that they were going through with a sister. And they said, I know she's got to be bipolar because, she just goes off for this and that, and we just don't understand it. She blames her mother, she blames this, that, and the other. And I asked her a couple of questions. She said, yeah, how did you know? And I said, because she's being triggered, but you don't know that. You think that it's in the moment right there. I said, no, she's being triggered by something that happened in the past. And you guys don't know what it is because she can't express it. And she said, yeah, and she drinks all the time. And she'll go and have a drink, and in the middle of the day or whatever. And I said, yeah, she's self-medicating because she can't deal with whatever's going on in her head all the time. And so after I talked to her, she said it explained a lot to her. She said she was going to listen to her and talk to her. But sometimes you just can't talk to people who've never been diagnosed. They need help. They need medication. They need to be in a psychiatrist's office. And the problem with being in a psychiatrist's office is sometimes you can't get an appointment because psychiatrists, the list to see a psychiatrist is very long, and psychiatrists are expensive. A lot of times it's not covered on your insurance. To see a psychologist, you got to find the right psychologist. the number of neurologists and for African Americans is only 4% in the United States. Black neurologists, the unknown amount of psychologists are 6%. So there are more unknown neurologists in this country. There's less black neurologists than there are unknown. So that tells you how few neurologists there are to diagnose headaches, migraines, neurological disorders that are associated with psychiatric disorders. I think it's only 6% of psychiatrists are black in this country, maybe less than that. Maybe like 4%, the same it is as neurologists. You have to look it up or Google how many African American psychiatrists there are. But psychiatry is grueling to go to school for, grueling. And it's dwindling because nobody wants to go into psychiatry because it's so vague. And there's so much training to go to school for psychiatry. And plus, nobody wants to go to a psychiatrist because nobody wants to be mentally ill. So nobody wants to see you. Nobody wants to come see you for months. So it's very difficult. It's like a vicious cycle. But bipolar is a serious mental illness. And if you are fortunate enough to be able to seek some solace somewhere and get some quiet and some downtime and be away from people and just get quiet and be alone, that's helping yourself. That's getting there, getting some calm and quiet, because you have to quiet your brain. It is a chemical imbalance. There is something going on with the brain and the body. The brain is not separate from your whole body. It's your whole body. It's your whole being. It's your whole soul. It is everything. So, think about what it is that you're feeling about it, what somebody in your family may be feeling about it, people who are self-medicating, people that actually need some help or some talk therapy. Whatever it is, listen to people, because life is meant to be enjoyed. You're not meant to suffer through it. Life is not meant to be a struggle. You're not meant to suffer through it. You're supposed to be enjoying your life. So, I went to my friend invited me to go help her do some makeup, and it was down the shore. So I got to spend a couple days down the shore, and it was really peaceful and relaxing. I got to get away and get another perspective on some things that are going on with me, and it was really, really wonderful of her to offer me to come down and stay in her at her house and sit out and relax and watch the sunset. It was really beautiful, and sit out on her back deck and have coffee out on the deck, and it was just really, really nice and peaceful. And so that was a big deal for me. It was a big deal to feel like I could take a breath somewhere alone, and just feel like everything was okay. And it is. Everything is okay. And it's always going to be okay. The weather is always going to clear up one way or another, one day or another. The weather always clears up. Might rain for a long time, might snow, sleet, hail, whatever. But one day, the sun always seems to come out, and it's okay. So, my prayer for you today is that your intention with every breath that you take is to inhale and say thank you, and to exhale with love. Because really that's all there is gratitude. And I think that we're all here to help each other. I really can't think of any other reason why we're all here. I posted a picture of some gifts that my friends gave me. Bottle of perfume. My friend bought me a wonderful bottle of perfume that was so nice. It was a nice surprise. And he has his struggles, really problems, and he was nice enough to come over and bring me something for my birthday. And my girlfriend sent me a card that actually brought tears to my eyes and made me cry. So things like that are really important and really special, because money could never buy that kind of love, that kind of joy, that kind of kindness. Only love can heal what's inside of you. Only love can do that. So, no one is perfect. No one. Even the person that you think is the most sane is not perfect. So when you're looking at that person that's mentally ill, they're just less perfect than you. That's all. So look at the way you react to their suffering. Look at the way you react to your suffering, whatever it is. It could be minimal, but whatever the way it is that you're suffering, take a look at it, examine it, and just be with it. Because we all suffer. There's no way of getting away from suffering. It's how we react to our suffering that counts, who makes us who we are. So I'm going to leave with, I love you. I send you love and light and joy. And maybe next time I will give you a list of some older people from way back, famous artists and creators and inventors that were bipolar or autistic or had Asperger's, a form of autism back in the day, like Einstein. How about that? And Tesla. How about that? Yeah, so these mental illnesses don't have anything to do with your intellect at all. Nothing to do with your intellect. It just happens to be that you have a chemical imbalance. So, wishing you love and light. I'm going to get this clicker, and I think I'm going to double click it. And if I double click it, let's see if it works and stops, okay? Love you. Here we go. Did it stop? I can't tell.